just trained in and I was off to a flying start. Hey, or was it just going over your head? I don't know.
You got any farmer jokes?
Any farmer jokes? Yeah, what do you call somebody who used to be interested in tractors? An ex-tractor fan. Hey! Now we're starting. This is the comedy vibe. That's why they all want to be here. I can understand it. Right, enough of my gibber jabber. Time now to hear the story of Scotland. Are you ready for it, ladies and gentlemen? Clap your hands, go wild, go crazy for Mr. Billy McGuire!
Hello. How are we doing? Greetings from the north. Before I start, deal with a couple of disappointments, issues. You may be disappointed that I'm not performing today in Highland wear. It's a technical issue. I'm not legally allowed to wear the kilt following the incident. I don't want to get into detail. Have any of you seen that film with Marilyn Monroe where the wind comes up? Well, it was like that, but Marilyn was wearing no knickers. The other thing, a distraction that possibly has to be dealt with. As I stepped up here, you may have noticed I've got a wee bit of a limp. Now, I don't know why I'm resting to speak of this. I was involved in an accident, personal, somewhat embarrassing nature. My penis got caught in my wife's best friend. and for the girls in the room, yes, I would be the very first to accept that that was an avoidable accident. I did in some small way feel responsible. But it did not justify what my wife done. Because my wife went downstairs, she went to the knife drawer, she got the biggest, sharpest knife, she came back upstairs, she grabbed me by my manhood, and she cut my knob off. And you're laughing. My wife was not laughing. My wife was not happy. My wife was not content. My wife was not satisfied. She jumped up, she went after her best friend. And she had cut his knob off too. That was just to show that I do know how to write a joke. Because in truth, I did this without a thought. I said, oh, I'll do a show. What kind of show? I'll do a theme show. No problem. I had never thought about this. There is a world of difference between what I do, which is, a thought occurs to me, usually a traffic light or in a shower, and when I've got enough of them, I do a show. When you do a theme show, you commit yourself to a story, and then you have to, and within theme shows there's two different types. If I had said, I'll tell you about my cancer, all the facts and figures would have been mine. If I couldn't remember the name of the doctor that told me I had cancer, I'd just call him Henderson and move on. I cannot, in actual fact, just make up the name of the King of England in 5011. I've got to actually work it out. This has been a lot of work. I would not do this again. But here we are. So, tell me, give me a cheer if you came here in the fond hope that I would fill your head with dates and names and facts that didn't interest you. Give me a cheer if you wanted that. Woo! Step one, set the mood. Oh, the summertime is here, and the trees are sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme all around the heathers blooming. Would you go, lassie, go? I have built my love a tower, I by yon clear crystal fountain, and on it I will pile all the flowers of the mountain. Would you go, lassie, go? That's it, the mood's set, because it's a romantic story. But where does it start? It could start in the Orkneys, 2,500 years before the big event in the cradle. But that's just because there were no trees in the Orkneys and they built stuff with stone. So they're not really the first ones, they're just the first ones we know about. You can kind of pick anywhere and start. So it's just a question of the story you like. The one I like takes place about 350 years BC, and it involves a bunch of Mediterranean men who arrive on a beach, not in Scotland, but in Ireland, because Scotland starts in Ireland. And these people turn up, and a wee Irishman, he walks down to the beach. In my head, he looks a bit like Jacob Rees-Mogg, but he dresses a bit like Fred Flintstone. And he says to these men on the boat, "Oh hey, fuck off, you can't stay here. We haven't got the school places," which was true because they didn't have any schools. "And our health service won't take it. You wouldn't believe how long we're waiting for a leech. But there's another island over there." He said, "There's nobody on it. You could live there." He said, "And by the way, have you noticed you haven't brought any women?" Right. And he said, "Well, obviously we didn't need them on the way here, because it's no gay if it takes place at sea." "But now we're back on the land. We thought maybe you could give us some of yours." And in the first and last case in history, he said, "Women, sure they grow in trees, help yourself." And some of the women must have seen the opportunity to breed outside the gene pool. They got on the boat and away they went to what is now Scotland. They landed somewhere around Ayrshire, whatever. And through this connection with the women, they just merged with each other and they became what was called the Scotia. And everything plodded along quite happily for several hundred years, till the Anglo-Saxons, who were kind of from Edinburgh down to as far as Leicester, depending on when you took the measurement. In actual fact, just to prove that, in 15-something, in an agreement to end the war, Doncaster was given to Scotland. And in the 700 years since then, nobody's ever bothered to ask for it back. What I'm telling you is, Doncaster's discovered oil. What toilet are you using? I'm for Doncaster, it doesn't matter a fuck. Anyone I want. Right? And the Picts who lived in the north, they were brought together and started picking on the Scotia. So the Fergus the Great arrived. At this point in the story, we don't exactly know what Fergus was great at. Right? He arrives in Scotland dragging a big stone. And Scottish people meet him and they go, "Who are you?" He goes, "I'm Fergus the Great." Strangely, they never said, "What are you great at?" They said, "Is that your big fuck off stone?" And he said, "Aye." He said, "Have you dragged that all the way from Ireland?" He said, "Aye." "Did you think we didn't have stones?" And Fergus said, "No, but we didn't have stones like this, because this stone was the very stone in which Jacob had laid his head when he dreamed of the tribes of Israel, that it had gone to Spain, it had gone to Portugal, then it had arrived in Ireland, where it sat on the hill of Tara, and the Irish people, they crowned their kings on it for the day it arrived to this day, and he had brought it to give him the authority to become king of all the Scots and deal with this problem, see these twats off." Right? Now it turns out that what Fergus was great at was telling stories. Right? Because this stone had never been anywhere. In 1938 they tested this stone and it came from 10 miles up from where Fergus was standing. Best possibility, he bought it in a B&Q on the M9. Right? Nonetheless, all the stone we will hear more later. So Fergus did this. It worked. They all gathered with him in his stone and they sorted it out, and it went on again for years and everybody was at peace. Well, then Columba arrived, not Colombo, Columba, that's important, right? He turns up because he's had a wee problem in Ireland, and his wee problem in Ireland is that the Bishop of Ireland has got himself an actual bit of the Bible, and he is playing his Bible ticket very hard. He's getting to have dinner with the king. He's getting invited to all the right parties. The money's rolling in. Columba says to him, could I borrow your book? Fuck off. This is my ticket to everywhere, this book. You can't have that. So Columba said, can I read your book? Well, that seemed reasonable. He said, all right, you can read my book. But Columba was a wee shite and nobody trusted him. So every day when he went in to read the book, they checked him for tracing paper. But he never had tracing paper. And on the last day, when he read the last page of the book, as he was leaving, the bishop appears in front of him. He says to him, what's that under your smock? Columba says, nothing, I'm just pleased to see you. But when they lifted the smock, it was not his delight at seeing the bishop, nor was it his huge throbbing John Thomas. No, it was a handwritten exact copy of the Bible. Well, the bishop said, we'll be having that. Columba said, I don't fucking think so. And he ran away very fast. Right? And from here what we've got is a simple copyright issue. A bit like when that guy had nobody's name, nobody remembers, sued George Harrison for using his... Like that, although I got to say about that George Harrison case, I don't understand why it didn't end as quickly as George Harrison's lawyers turning up and saying, Your Honour, he's George fucking Harrison. If he wanted to copy shit, he'd copy Paul McCartney. Surely that would have just seen out of court in a minute. Anyway, Columba and the Irish bishop, they don't have lawyers. What they've got is armies. And when the litigation's ended, 2,000 Irishmen are dead on a field. Colombo wins on points, Columba. Right? And he's happy as bugger, he's the man now. And then the Pope butts in. And the Pope says, "Ye the book back." And you do not ignore the Pope, because the Pope is infallible. Right? And that means that popes move with a certain degree of confidence. They cannot be wrong. Infallible. And popes know they're infallible. And do you know how popes know they're infallible? Because it's written. Except that one pope that was dyslexic. He thought he was inflatable. That's when the papacy really took off. So Columba had to give the book back. And as part of his punishment, the Pope said that he had to convert 2,000 souls to replace the people that died on the battlefield. So off he went to Scotland, built a thing in Iona, and started wandering around saving people for a baby Jesus. And it was while he was doing this that he wandered upon the side of Loch Ness, and he seen a monster. He thought, Christ, I better mention that to the Pope. Right? Now, at the time, this would have took place in the form of letters, but mail was very slow, so I'm going to do it as if it was a telephone conversation. Is that okay with everybody? Yeah. So Columba gets on with the Pope. He goes, "Hello, it's Columba." The Pope says, "For Christ's sake, what do you think I've done? I've got a perfect alibi. I was talking to my imaginary friend." And Columba says, "No, Columba, not Colombo." This would be a whole other conversation. He said, oh, what are you phoning me for? He says, I have seen such proof of the Lord's power. Now the Pope is very much up for proof of the Lord's power. It's an easy thing to convince him of. But he's also done an HND in marketing. And he thought, at this point, a sensible question. He said, do the Scottish people seem to like monsters? He said, oh Christ, aye. He said, they've already built 2 tea shops and they're making wee tea cosies in the shape of monsters. He said, right then, Market Pope approved. And this is the kind of serious bit of this. At the time, every wood had fairies and every lake had monsters, but we don't remember any of their names. And the reason why we don't remember any of their names is because they weren't Pope approved. When the Reformation came, the Inquisition, you were allowed to believe in Nessie. They'd hang you up and go, do you believe in monsters? They'd hang you up and you go, Nessie, you go, fuck it, let them down. Right? And that's how we know Nessie's name today. So after that, things were okay for a wee while, till the War of Independence. And it starts. No, wait a minute. Things wandered on. 843, who's impressed? That's a proper date. The first King of Scotland, Kevin McAlpine. Everybody that's ever been crowned in Britain claims to be descended all the way back to McAlpine. Even King Charles. Since we've mentioned King Charles, you know he's bi-curious. He wonders what the fuck it will like to pay for things. Couldn't you leave that out? Kevin McAlpine, 843, we wander on. I'm not very good at this bit. There's a couple of Malcolms. There's an Alistair or 2. There's a Constantine, I don't know where the fuck we found him. And there's Macbeth. And at this point I want to stop the story, because Macbeth, and this is the absolute truth, he never poisoned anybody. Duncan died in a battle against Macbeth under a hail of arrows. Nobody was poisoned. Right? And Lady Macbeth, she was a lovely woman. She might have said out spot, damn spot, but she was talking to her dog. There might have been a yellow stain on the carpet, but there was no blood on her hands. William Shakespeare was jockophobic. And also a bit anti-Semitic, but that's an argument for another play. Wasn't that a sweet pun?
Yeah, that's great.
I thought so. Wasted. Anyway. Can I do you a wee bit of Shakespeare?
Yeah.
Says we're here. Ladies and gentlemen, my interpretation, William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar with an iPhone. Head for me! Head for me! Could somebody plug that in for me? There's some dispute in the comedy community as to whether that is blatantly stolen from a Carry On film or merely retooled for the 21st century.
Brilliant.
Where are we? Yeah, the Wars of Independence. It all starts with a guy called Alexander III. Now Alexander, to be fair to him, he'd done the job. He'd got a wife, he'd had 3 children, one of them was a boy. It couldn't be better. That man had the right to put his feet up. Then the whole fucking lot died in front of his eyes. And he's standing here, there is no heir for Scotland. So he gets himself an inappropriately young wife. Yolanda, did you? Just some of the facts I know. Also, she's got the same name as my wife, so it's easy to remember. But so Alexander's in Edinburgh, and he's drinking, and then he suddenly decides that he should go to the other side of the Forth to meet his new wife, his new young wife, and to start dealing with this air problem. And everybody's saying to him, don't be ridiculous, that's terrible weather to go in, you'll die. He said, I don't care, right? So he jumps on the horse and off he goes, and the ferryman, he doesn't want to take him across, but he plays his I'm your fucking king card, and he's really got no choice, so he risks his life, and they get across the river, and off he goes, on his horse, flowers in one hand, wee cheeky bottle of Buckfast in the other, and off he goes into the storm. Now, some of you that have been paying attention will have noticed the schoolboy error he made there. Flowers in one hand, Bucky in the other, hadn't left the hand free to direct the horse. Woke up the next morning, deed at the bottom of a cliff. Right? This threw Scotland into fucking chaos. We had no air. It ended up the Queen of Scotland was 9 weeks old. She never made it to Scotland. She died before she was 7. And then we didn't know what to do. And we thought, in the stupidest idea that has ever existed in the history of stupidness, we thought, we'll ask Edward, King of England, to decide, which is the equivalent of asking Donald Trump to hold your drink. And that's what started the trouble. He picked Beowulf because Beowulf was a kiss arse. And, but even Beowulf wouldn't take it. Finally he said, we're going to war with France, you're coming, and Beowulf said, I don't fucking think so. And that started the Wars of Independence. Beowulf didn't last very long, and the game was over when William Wallace appeared. Now, the first mention of William Wallace in history is stealing 2 kegs of beer. The man that stole the other keg of beer, the man holding the other keg of beer, got caught, right, and ended up in court, and they were going to hang him, till he explained that he was a priest, and that he'd come across a soldier, and the soldier had said, "He's a hand with this beer," and he'd tell him it was stolen, and he got away with that, and that's why we believe that Wallace was in the English army, because that's where it was, right? And within the War of Independence, there's a man doesn't get mentioned much. His name is Andy Murray. Not the tennis player. Right? To mistake Andy Murray for the tennis player would be giving him something of a backhanded compliment. Yeah, I'm serving them up.
I love it.
Andy Murray. It was Murray's tactics that won at Stirling Bridge. You won because of Andy Murray, but you came because of William Wallace. Wallace, very much the looks of the organisation. Easily the best joke teller. The wee Free Kirk have banned sex standing up. They're afraid it leads to dancing. That was one of Willie's. Shortbread, they're not making it any longer. Another one. But where was I going with that? This is only half written.
It's brilliant, carry on.
Right, thank you. So, Wallace fought for a wee while, got caught, the Bruce turned up. Now, the first thing is, these people weren't really Scottish. They were all French, right? I mean, you talk about heroes. These people weren't heroes. Robert the Bruce led the English into Scotland. Then he thought they weren't going to win, so he changed sides. Then he realised he'd made a mistake changing sides, so he changed sides again. Right? William Wallace lost at Falkirk. Robert the Bruce sent a note for his mammy. He didn't even turn up. Right? So Scotland had heroes. Don't get me wrong. We're a land that breeds heroes. But they're not these French pansies. No. They're the ordinary folk. Do you want me to draw your attention to a Scottish hero? Some wee Irish woman can't even write her name. Halfway up a tenement throwing piss on landlords to keep her roof above her head. There's a hero for you. My granda was a hero. He was on Dunkirk Beach. He was in the trenches of Passchendaele. Right? Unfortunate fact. Try and imagine being this man. If you're 39 when World War II starts, you're not allowed to go to the front. Right? So if you were 18 when the World War I ended, you would be 40 when the Second World War started. So nobody for the First World War had to go straight into the trenches. In the Second World War, except my grandfather lied by 3 years, and he was 37. It made him the best fucking soldier in the army. They couldn't get him to the front line quick enough. Right? I said, oh, I loved the man. I loved the very ground he walked on. When I was a kid, I would just look at him, fascinated. Say him, Granda, Granda, were you ever shot? He said, oh, I said, what happened, Granda? He said, oh, it was foggy. He said, it was foggy on the Eastern Front. I thought, you know what, I could have a wee look. I could have a wee peek up and see what's going on. He said, and I go up, he said, and I looked. I said, well, Granda, what did you see? What did you see? He said, I seen a big fuck off German. He was about that size and he had a gun in his hand. I said, did you, what happened, Granda? What happened? He said, he fucking shot me. I said, what? Well, where did he shoot you, Granda? Where did he shoot you? He said, right there. I said, oh no, Granda. He can't have shot you right there. That's your heart. You'd be dead. He said, oh, son, I was all right. My heart was in my mouth when I seen him. My grandfather, a hero, not a man particularly tied to the truth. Another, I'm trying to squeeze this, right, okay, we're a bit good for this. Run through all that shit, right? Because they're not even worth talking about. Interesting thing. Historical fact. Since 1950, continually, every year, the area around Bonnybridge, known as the Falkirk Triangle, sees more UFOs than any other place in the world. More than 300 a year. Right? There are people in Bonnybridge. 1 in 2 of the inhabitants of Bonnybridge have had some sort of intergalactic event. They've seen a UFO or an alien wandering in the woods. They've been abducted. They've been probed. And you will not be very long in Bonnybridge talking to the local people before you come to the conclusion that some of that probing might have been consensual. Bits of it may have been unprotected. I'm going to, what am I going to do now? I'm going to get the hell out of here because we're trying to get the next act on. Okay, thank you very much, people. That has been a wonderful help.